action, what do you believe should be the top 2 or 3 priorities of the next board or for you as a mayor? And Justin, you get to start us off and we'll go all the way around.
Okay. So 1 minute. There's a lot for 2 or 3 top priorities. So I would say that the cost of living has been rising rapidly. The cost of housing is outpaced the pay of the wages of people who live here. So that is a top priority to try to figure out ways to create a way for middle income people, that's people who make $60,000 to $130,000 to be able to afford to live in Erie because currently they cannot. The second priority I would say is to put out a more comprehensive plan of how to obtain home rule. I believe that's a way to restore the power of government to the voters of Erie, as opposed to having the state dictate what the regulations for this town are. So that's a very important thing. And I'd say third is creating or recreating a sense of community that we had prior to COVID. It seems like we have fallen apart as a community in sense of division around this topic. So I look forward to restoring community and restoring the town that I moved to 13 years ago.
My first priority will be to reestablish downtown Erie as a place for us to go to eat and entertain ourselves and go and do some business. It's so important for us to get out of the COVID-19 pandemic and restore that nexus of commerce and identity to Erie. After that's been reestablished, I really want the board to focus on the development at Town Center, that we have a lot of cooperation from local developers and the business community and really good interest from residents in order to get Town Center up and going so that we can bring a diversity of commerce, a grocery store, and other opportunities. And finally, I believe the transition to home rule is critical for us to grow up as a town so that we can establish a form of government that reflects the unique nature of Erie while standing on the shoulders of other municipalities that have gone to home rule and found that to be effective for growing into our next phase of development.
So there's 3 specific items that I have been campaigning on. They're all central around manageable growth, sustainable infrastructure, financial accountability, economic vitality. Really, when I look at the 3 most important things, those are all central themes. However, really it's about planning. That is the number 1 and only goal that our town should have for the next 2, 5, 10, 20 years out. First, assess where we are today, then move on to where we are going to, and then eventually get to the where we will be. So that means assess what are we currently at in terms of our infrastructure? What does our current work plan look like? What is town staff working on? And then we say where we're going, where we actually start saying, okay, what are the items that we actually have to set up for the next year, the next 2 years? And then from there also have then the comprehensive plan, all these master plans, as well as financial forecasting, which our town does not do, so that we can be a step ahead of where we are currently instead of being behind the schedule.
For me, priorities would be making sure that we are looking at our plans and making sure that we are supporting balanced growth. And that includes diversity in housing and making sure we have a plan for inclusionary housing. And I hope we'll get to talk about that more about that this evening. I think this serves to support our businesses and ensures that we are competitive in recruiting and retaining important employees in the job market. I also think one of the main priorities will be to engage the public in a really aggressive and transparent education process around home rule. I feel like that's a really important next step for Erie's maturity and growth. And this is where that foundational value of making sure that we're building a culture in Erie where people are safe, seen, heard, and valued comes into play so that we are able to engage and make sure that people can come to the town with their concerns.
As I mentioned in my introduction, I have a business background, and so growing business in Erie is going to be an area of focus for me, and I believe that should be a top priority to build out our sustainable growth for years to come, and that will involve not only the projects that we have with Town Center and Erie Gateway, but creating diversity in the types of businesses that we have here in Erie. I also agree that attainable housing is going to be a major issue that needs to start being addressed. It's very complicated, and it's going to take a while to get there. It's going to be a partnership with developers and businesses and the town. And we need a home where, a town where, first responders and teachers and others can afford to live. Third, I do believe Erie residents deserve the right to vote on home rule and learn about it and decide for themselves. Thank you.
I'd first like to know that the board is going to respect and defend kids and families. So that means taking Boulder County's extreme rules and imposing them on all of Erie is harmful for the kids. The kids need to stay in school. It's harmful for the families. They need their kids in school so they can go to work. It's harmful for businesses, and it's very divisive and controversial, and it's a big part of why this town has been so split. So I think the board should defend kids and keep them in school. Secondly, commercial development and revenue generation. I think it all goes back to this. It will help us not tax the residents or impose burdens on the residents and average people and common people as there's inflation and all these challenges in daily lives. So if we can, Erie's got a nice location, we got views, we got people, we've got amazing neighborhoods, and we've got space to do all these wonderful things. So there's no reason we shouldn't have more businesses coming here, which will increase to the commercial tax base, which will give us options to do all the great things we want to do that will benefit everybody in Erie.
Okay, so I think first and foremost, cost of living is one of my biggest concerns. We need to diversify our economy. We can't run based off of impact fees and e-commerce sales tax forever. As we grow to 65,000 people in the future, it really matters what type of revenue sources we have. So we need to start working on that much more aggressively. That leads into my second goal, which is balancing growth. We need more primary employers. We need to look multiple years ahead instead of just looking at 1 year at a time. And then I think the third one is ensuring the government represents the will of the people. I understand that we are quite divided at times. National politics has made things even more divisive as time goes on. But it's important that we remember we're all neighbors, we're all in this together, and we need to find ways to compromise and move forward. So I think that a government that listens to the people, acknowledges their concerns, and then finds a way to work together, but also understands our place, that really, really will make a big difference.
Hi, yeah, I get to answer last on this one. I think the first and foremost, we need to update our visioning. We need to really have a sense of where we're going and where we want to be. So I think that would be the first priority for me, is looking at our long-term planning and what it is we're trying to accomplish. And for me, one of the things that I'm trying to accomplish in my candidacy is to keep the cost of living low for our current residents, for the people who live here, for families, for people who are on fixed income and who are in our service sector. Part of that is diversifying the economy, so bringing in new business, but I think part of that, being friendlier to our families and being friendlier to businesses is very similar. Removing red tape, removing fees, trying to make it so that they can operate here and continue to live here. So I'll stop.